Ready?
3,
Two.
2, 1 for the God of Mischief. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It is that special time. No, it's not Friday night because, God forbid, Marvel tries to cross paths with Lucasfilms because
Mm.
Wednesday nights is time for Loki. And we are
Yep.
back with our bonus episodes of PS Comics I Love You. I am Kevin Pillow. Well, hold on. Time out. I don't go first. This guy
Mm.
goes first. And that is the Dark King, JR Kambakungan. Also not
How you
JR
doing?
Comics 42 on Instagram. All
Mm-hmm.
other social medias in progress. He's working
Mm-hmm.
on it. I am the voice of reason at Voice of Reason 23, Kevin Pillow. And Hoy, wow. All I can say is once again, Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Feige and his band of writers and directors and creators have once again taken a, a very simple task, made it interesting, and have told a unique and different story. And today we are talking not about the craziness of the time bending, or I should say the genre bending of WandaVision. We're
Yeah.
not talking about the deep, radical, action filled, controversial
Political
storyline of
intrigue.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier and intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
We are dealing with really and truly could be pound for pound the greatest character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and giving him a new twist in
Mm-hmm.
dealing with now time travel, the time, the sacred timeline, and of course, what? Who else? If you're dealing with the sacred timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what better person to surround that story than the God of Mischief himself,
Mm-hmm.
Loki Laufeyson? And that is what we're talking about. Episode 1, season 1 of Loki of Loki. And I should note this as we're going to hit play here. We're kind of doing this watch along style a little bit, but just to kind of for frame of reference for JR and
Yeah.
I, like, oh yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah.
Um, I will say this: this is the first time that I have seen um the kind of, I don't know if it was on Disney Plus, but anyways, kind of advertised as it is season 1, episode 1.
Oh yeah.
WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier were always like episode 1. Da, 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 da. This is the first time that I've seen in some cases where it's broken down or it's advertised or it's seen across different social media and online platforms, that
Mm.
this is advertised as season 1, episode 1, and I think this is because it's unofficially been greenlit for season 2. So
Yeah.
interesting that this is the first time we've seen that. So if you're going to watch along, should we start
Mm.
now, or
Sure. I mean,
okay?
if
Well, I'm hitting
anything,
play.
yeah. If anything, honestly, like we might actually end before the episode ends,
Oh yeah.
or I don't know, because it's more so like again, spoiler everyone if you have
Oh yeah,
definitely
from
you
this
have
point
yet
on,
to
spoiler
watch,
alert.
yeah,
Yeah.
spoiler. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, it's already out. Watch it, come back, and we'll compare notes per se. Because everything we're gonna say is gonna be definitely spoilery. It is, and other than of course the obvious fact that this is very much a different Loki. This is the Loki from the 2012 Avengers first film movie, and
Exactly.
if you've watched Endgame, you know.
Okay,
And
so JR, let me ask you this.
so
Show gets announced in July of 2019.
yeah.
Hall H, San Diego Comic-Con 2019, massive day for Marvel. This is where this was the coming out party for Disney Plus. They announced Falcon the Winter Soldier. They announced the WandaVision. They announced Loki. They're 3 tentpole kickoff digital television shows
Mm-hmm.
that will be official canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're being produced by Marvel Studios.
Yep.
Then you have the we have WandaVision. Then we have Falcon. What was your like? What was your initial reaction to Kevin Feige and Tom Hiddleston announcing Loki back in Call H 2012, and then how did it change as we got closer to WandaVision, as
Yeah.
WandaVision aired, as Falcon and the Winter Soldier aired, and then the time between Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the beginning of Loki? How did your opinion and your, because this has been kind of a big circle, this one.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
It, it,
What's your
it's
been your opinion on the show as it
how,
kind of
how
grew towards last night?
I'm pretty sure my opinion of the show when it first got announced was very much like everybody else's. Like, all right, cool. This is the show that you know because no disrespect to the actors and actresses that are both on Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. It's Tom Hiddleston. Period. Tom Hiddleston, right? And for a very long time, I think, yeah, this is 10th year playing Loki. Right before that, it was Loki. Like you held him in the same breath as Thor. You you had Tom Hiddleston in that same type of like caliber as like RDJ.
Yeah.
You had him there because it's Tom freaking Hiddleston, right? And like everybody else as well, uh 2019 when they first announced that Disney Plus was going to be a thing and that's going to be a streaming show, it was very much at the time like, oh, they're giving up on. For me, I felt like, oh, they're giving up on a lot of these actors and actresses, right? At the time, it's like, oh, they're not going to be in big, huge tentpole type movies anymore, like we said before. Lo and behold, and one very cataclysmic pandemic later,
Yeah.
and and the need and the wants for more content from not just from MCU, but the age of streaming, we've come to find out that this is probably the one of the best things going. And just overall now, after both the amazing hits of that as One Division and as well as
Oh yeah.
Captain America now and Winter Soldier,
Ha ha
it's
ha.
definitely like now I'm like, oh, you gotta come with it now, Tom. People were circling you, and they're kind of like, cool, we'll check out One Division, we'll check out, Falcon and Winter Soldier, we'll check them out, right? But now we're like, all right, you gotta come with it. You have to come with it, Tom. You have to come with it,
I,
and that's what I felt very much like. And overall, just when we're gonna get, I guess we're gonna go into our initial impressions of the whole episode. But for overall, for me, dude, I enjoy the hell out of the first episode.
I
I've been
enjoyed the
watching
hell
like
out of
three
it
times
too.
now. Yeah.
And from the get go, and even the trailers leading up to the show, I was thoroughly confused, but
Hmm.
not in a bad way confused. Almost kind of like in a good way confused, like I
Yeah.
was with the first two episodes of WandaVision.
Hmm.
WandaVision was so unique and told a story almost kind of looking back at it now, almost kind of a Pulp Fiction
Yeah.
esque storyline where they told it from different angles, leading to it was like typical stories is you have your opening act, your middle act, and your closing act.
Yeah.
Where WandaVision kind of led with an opening act and then kind of played around a little bit, and then they went back in time, and
Yeah.
then they did this and that. So it was like they it wasn't a fluid 1 2 3 1 2 3, and so I really enjoyed the uniqueness of that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a gritty, almost like I said, kind of a gritty crime drama, like,
Yeah.
or kind of a political thriller, kind of
Hmm.
like Captain America Winter Soldier was.
Hmm.
um and I still say that it's, other than an Endgame and Infinity War, which kind of had an unfair advantage, um the Winter Soldier is the ball, is the bar
Yeah.
for the MCU for films. Um, that to me, Falcon and Winter Soldier was basically the sequel to Captain America that we never really got.
Yeah.
I really circled. I almost kind of knew what we were going to get out of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I inevitably didn't see the totality of the storyline that we got, and really enjoyed the
Yeah.
um god dang it, I can't think of his name, the black Captain America,
Oh,
Isaiah Bradley.
is
The
that
Isaiah
Bradley?
Bradley storyline, I loved that. I didn't
Yeah.
see that coming. Totally
Mm.
took me off guard, but loved it.
Yeah.
I circled WandaVision. There was 3 shows I circled. WandaVision because there was rumors about they were dealing with TV shows and stuff like that. Loki because it's Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
You're getting Tom Hiddleston with a brand new approach to the Loki character. and
Yeah.
then of course What If, which is going to be our next iteration of Disney Plus. So yeah, my expectations were, I guess, relatively high for this show, and
Mm.
I don't think it let down. For those of you who are kind of joining us, obviously the show opened with a flashback to 2012's Avengers. We see how Loki came about, so we see it from the actual Avengers
Yeah. Viewpoint.
angle, where he's captured. I want that drink now, and he's captured by the Avengers and taken into custody. And then flash forward, we see him interacted in the hallway where the 2012 Tony Stark and Thor come to pass with the Secretary of Shield.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but Pierce, I think, Secretary Pierce. And of course, there's the fight over the Tesseract, and then Loki finds it in the 2012 variant.
Yeah.
We're going to use that word a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Comes into possession of the Tesseract, takes it, jumps. Of course, the Tesseract is the space stone, which allows you to jump in through space, and he ends up in the Gobi Desert. Now, it does not address JR where in time he lands, but it seems like it was very kind of an ancient Mongolia. Um,
Yeah.
yes, or it could be just an area
I
of
mean,
Mongolia that's not
yeah, it's
pre to
definitely
the 21st century.
yeah, it's definitely should be still 2012, right?
Okay.
Because if particularly if we're still going to continuity, the space stone, yeah, you're just being transported, right? And so there's still parts of Mongolia that are still very, very much like people are still living in a tribal basis, right? It's not it'll like there's still great portions of the world that are uninhabited or has yet to, come with technology, which is fine, right? It's
Which is
fine.
fine.
It's just
Probably
absolutely fine.
makes it for a better society.
Yeah, exactly. And so like we see this differences of like what's the first episode, of course, is called Glorious Purpose. And you've always, and if you're a Loki fan, or if you watch the MCU, you always know that there's a particular uh, Loki has a particular personality trait, right? He's always filled with such glorious purpose, and so
He's very
he
egocentric.
yeah, he views himself as a god, and he postures himself to do so, right? And so every point of nearly every point of the episode, he's always like that. He's always posturing himself as if he is the better, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's him, right? And we come to find out the first appearance of the TVA. Of course, if you don't know what the TVA is, guys, you shouldn't be watching this episode. You should be watching Loki first episode. The TVA is the Time Variance Authority, and lo and behold, we've come to find out that there is an all-seeing organization that is currently looking throughout each and every single timeline. And I freaking love that because it just really blew open the door to the multiverse and the
Yes.
power scaling magnificence that is. Because like people have been tripping out of like, okay, so let me just take a step back real quick. We're comic book readers, right? You and
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
comic readers. We've been talking with fans who are just MCU watchers and say and there's been multiple occasions where I've come across people and we had these conversations that say, "Oh, Thanos would whoop anybody, especially with the Infinity Gauntlets." I would say true, absolutely true.
If the Infinity Stones worked.
If the Infinity Stones work, he goes like, yeah, just like it doesn't matter. Like you put a if you put Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet in the DCEU, he would wreck everybody there. I'm like,
Would he? Would
no, he
he?
wouldn't. He would not, man. Like, yeah, all you gotta do
Be a
is just,
fun fight between him and Darkseid.
bro, dark. So here's
It'd
the
be
thing.
fun. That's the thing.
It
You got to
no here
understand is that
it would not be fun. It
Thanos is
would
still a
not.
Titan.
He's still a Titan, but he's nowhere near Darkseid. Okay, because
Anyways,
specifically the MCU, right? MCU Thanos. And that's the thing we're trying to get here. As comic book readers and fans, the MCU in terms of power scaling, pretty low, even with the Infinity Gauntlets. because here's the thing, there are certain levels of strength and integrity that are way above Infinity Gauntlets. I mean, we've talked about it before. Deadpool had the Infinity Gauntlet. Deadpool.
Yeah, God, I love Deadpool. Could you imagine if Ryan Reynolds Deadpool got his hands on the Infinity
I
Gauntlet?
I kind of want that to happen. Low key, I really do. There's low key, really high key. I really want him to do it. There's been so many people with the Infinity Gauntlets, right? It has been it's at this point it's a trope. Someone's gonna have the Infinity Gauntlet somewhere, sometime eventually, and what this show has done is power scale the hell out of it.
Yeah.
In the currents of like this, the Infinity Stones aren't as strong as you think it is, man. And it is insane. There are certain levels of it because for me, the biggest geek out I've had was the relevancy of like, okay, cool. You think all this stuff in your timeline is important. It's really not. It's really not.
Now, real quick, you talk about the existence of the multiverse has now been kicked wide open. We first
Mm-hmm.
had it hinted at with Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio,
Mm-hmm.
um, but obviously that was determined to be a fake out.
Also,
But we've seen with WandaVision, at the end of WandaVision, her hearing the voices of her, essentially her fake children,
mm-hmm.
coming from another point in time and space.
Yep.
Uh, but it should be noted that there has been massive, quote, wars over the period of existence in the greater universe. So
Yep.
has, for those who are comic book readers,
Mm-hmm.
has a secret war already taken place. And from what I can tell from episode one, the Miss Minutes, which, by the way, did anybody recognize who Miss Minutes was? Miss Minutes was the clock, the animated clock from the cartoon. That is
Mm-hmm.
voiced by the incomparable Tara Strong. You may know her
She,
as
she's in everything.
um, Twilight
Everything.
Sparkle
Yeah.
from My Little Pony, and of course, a personal favorite of my co-host from Teen Titans Go. She is Raven.
She's
So
she's also she's in so many things. She was also
she's
played
geek royalty.
yeah, she played
She's geek royalty.
for me, she was my childhood. She played Riku from Final Fantasy X. She was dude, she was in a lot of video games. So yeah, she probably voiced a majority of your childhood, right?
Yeah,
Low key, she
I
really
would Loki. There you go. This could be the
low key.
hashtag keyword.
Yeah.
So we do see, like I said, we see Loki watch the video featuring Miss Minutes, kind of the mascot of the TVA. They do explain, though they don't specifically say it. It is hinting at a, quote, secret war, because there was a battle between supremacy of the multiverse. So we see that the opening sequence. We see Loki go through basically being arrested, and um fast forward, he signs the documents, he's in his costume, he kind of is trying to figure out where he's at, and of course there's the ticket scene. He sees the Miss Minutes video. Then we fast forward, we see Owen Wilson, who is playing
Yeah. Mobius. Yep.
Mobius, who is a agent of the TVA,
Yeah.
and is in charge of,
Yeah.
obviously, like most people,
Okay.
protecting
Timeline.
the sacred timeline.
Yeah.
We see him in a church in Germany. No, well, we see
France.
him somewhere
France. He's in France.
in France in 1589. So
Yeah.
centuries ago, it's
Yeah.
in this cathedral.
I honestly thought the child there was I thought she would have been he or she would have been what's the what is the famous what's the famous French warrior way back when she was burned in the stake because
Oh,
she heard the voice of God.
um,
What's her name? She's very famous. Uh,
not Marie Antoinette. No,
not Mary Antoinette. Mary Antoinette. No.
Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc. Yeah, I thought that was Joan of Arc. First
Now,
thought.
hear me out. I'm not convinced that that's not Loki. But
That's what I'm
did
saying,
you?
right?
There's the first Easter egg. Did you not absolutely lose your shit when the
herself.
little girl, when Mobius says, who who did this, and she
She
turns and
pointed to the
points
bank.
to the glass, and it is a blatant, I mean, there's no, it is the
Blatant.
devil himself, and it is very specifically looks like the Marvel version of the devil,
Yeah.
Mephisto.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
And I know that when that scene happens somewhere, um, Dan Casey, of course, who hosts the Nerdist recap show, lost his shit because he has been trying to make, as they say,
Yeah.
trying to make Mephisto happen. Um,
Yeah.
but I was like, my wife and I were both like Mephisto, and then by the end of the show, we were like, maybe it wasn't,
It
maybe it
still
was.
might be though. That's the thing.
Well,
We don't know.
imagine, we don't know. Now I'm still not convinced of that because we've also learned that not only does Loki take, can he take, we've learned this through over a period of time, that he can take any shape, he can
Yeah.
change himself in anything. He's posed as Captain America, he's posed everything,
Thor.
he's posed as, we'll get to this too, as the famous DB Cooper. um
Yeah.
he's we also know that he is gender fluid, which means he could be go between male, female, or asexual.
Hmm.
So he's not one specific gender, though he does take on, his main appearance is assumed
Yeah.
to be that of an earth male,
Yeah.
because remember, he's a god.
Yeah. There has
um
been. I will say there has been times in continuity where there has been a female Loki
which
in comics.
we'll might get to by the end of this episode.
I hope so.
So
Yeah.
there are people saying that maybe the little girl. There's two theories in my mind, that the little girl, it's 1589. She sees this weird alien, so to speak, who does look
Mm,
kind of like a human. We
mm,
don't know what form Loki took when he was potentially in the church, because spoiler alert, Loki is not only the quote protagonist, he's
yeah.
also the antagonist in this show, which we'll
Yeah.
learn.
We'll try to make sense of that real quick.
We will.
Just real quick. Uh, actually, yeah. Throughout the whole thing. So yeah.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced that this little girl possibly is not a Loki variant. I'm also convinced that this little girl thinks that Loki is the devil because he wears the horns, like you see the picture behind me.
Mm,
Um, but we do see that there's little machinery that the TVA agents carry, and seeing at what point is the timeline in this sector reaching a crisis level, and they see that the variant that has entered into this church and murdered people, obviously,
mm,
um has really effed up the timeline
yeah.
in this century. So, and that is where shortly thereafter Mobius has the attaché for Loki dropped into his lap. Fast forward, we now see Loki meeting before
The judge. Yeah.
the judge,
The
who
tribunal. Don't
represents,
say tribunal. Come on, man. Don't say that.
it's not tribunal, but the
Don't.
judge that he is facing, which is let me get her name, is um Gugu Mabatha Ra. She
Yeah.
plays
Gugu Mbatha by Ravonna Renslayer.
Ravonna
Renslayer.
Renslayer.
Amazing
And
fucking
she
last name
basically,
too.
she represents the time, the, what do they call them, the time lords, or no, that's
Yeah.
Doctor Who. But the three heads of the sacred timeline, she
Mm,
is she is the judge representation. But of course we get to see this scene, we get to see Loki do his best talk,
mm-hmm.
love Owen Wilson in
Yeah.
this role. um at what point, we're now 15 minutes into this episode, at, at any point were you like, what in the actual ass am I watching?
Here's the thing. We actually gotta go. We actually jumped through a lot of thing before that. Just the aesthetic of just the aesthetic point of the whole episode was really very like 1960s, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, what do you
Very,
think of the aesthetics?
yeah, the very FBI, very 1960s, very much that whole like I forgot which like the old cop show, the 1960s,
Like
early 1960s,
Dragnet,
right?
kind of a mod
Yeah,
squad.
it's very
uh
much in that theme. It feels like the TVA is very similar to what Shield should have been, in that essence, where they, yeah, they're doing their job, and you see what kind of species the TVA is. Because we haven't really, made any type of course, like what are the people who work TVA? What are they?
How did they get there? How were they born?
Yeah, like what kind of, like, they're humanoid, but they're obviously not human, because time specifically does changes them differently. A
Are
time,
they a carbon-based life form? Yeah.
yeah, time is different for them. Like, we got to the point too where, like, when the TVA first captures Loki when he's in Mongolia, you see this this very hilarious slow-mo shot. I thought it was just a slow-mo
Oh, it
shot.
was a great shot.
No, it was I forget the hunter. I think the name is Hunter B-15, right? And majority of
Yes, you
the
were correct.
TVAs, right? The TVA police force or task, right?
Yeah.
You don't really hear names too often, but you hear like Hunter B-15. I think the only ones that had like a name was Mobius, was who's that, the clerk that
Oh, the
was there,
guy.
the guy. That guy is cool, man. I love that guy.
Um, Casey.
Casey, like
Casey.
him, Casey, and of course the judge, which is Ravonna or Renslayer, right? That's a
Yeah.
badass name for some crazy officers. But like a lot of the other ones, they don't really have names, man. They have like numbers and codes, right? But like the
Very Star Wars-esque kind of
yeah,
a stormtrooper.
yeah. But like Hunter B-15, right? He hits Loki with this very interesting like stick baton looking thing, where it hit him and he slowed down.
Yeah.
But like I think she said like point 15 or something like that, like
1/16.
116, right?
1/16.
116th of a second. So you see all the waves of his face after the collision, right? And you see him just moving in slow motion while she's in regular motion. And yes, they are definitely they are the Time Lord equivalents, right, of this universe at this point.
Oh
Time
yeah.
Lords, of course, is from Doctor
Doctor
Who,
Who.
and so they are that. It's just that like a lot of the TVA now, they are this task force, or they're this police force that specifically is there to, in their quotes, protect the timeline, protect the perfect timeline. And they're run
Sacred
by
timeline.
sacred timeline, and
Sacred
they're
timeline.
run by these three lizard-looking
Space
gods,
lizards.
space
Space lizards.
lizard-looking gods,
Gotta
right?
love Loki.
Yeah. After three wars, right? Three crazy time wars, and they're like, all right, cool, we're just gonna try to fix this shit out. And so we have the TVA, and the TVA was set up. Now, of course, we've said before, just, oh yeah, going back to the aesthetic, man. It's like the very first like 3-4 minutes of him being in TVA felt very much like Guy Ritchie to me, which I enjoyed. It's very quick pace, like really high cuts, like him going down constantly, right? Through the elevator and all that stuff, him getting all his shirts turned off, right? You got signed this, whatever, him going straight down. It felt very much like a reference to like to him in Ragnarok saying, I've been falling for 15 minutes, right?
Yeah,
That's what it reminded me of.
that's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it's like it felt very much like Guy Ritchie to me, which was great, which is great. Which of course we have to go back and say that the whole series is gonna be directed by a awesome Kate Herron.
Sounds like, yeah, they're going to go. This is the direction they're going to go. Is that a single director taking on the whole series, as opposed
Great.
to previous shows where they
No, no,
and kind of like what Mandalorian does, is they
Mandalorian does, yeah.
do
They do
it does
separate,
individual episode
which is fine.
directors.
But the current MCU ones, it's always been just one director.
It's been one director, yeah.
Yeah. So with Kate Clement doing this one, it's the everything's being adapted. The stories are being adapted by a Michael Waldron, and we'll see where it goes from there, man. But overall, man, just the aesthetic was great.
Yeah, I
Everything.
love. My wife said the same thing. She really liked the '60s kind of '70s
Yeah.
look to it. It should be noted too, during the scene with the judge, where Loki is pleads his innocence or his guilt.
On trial.
He's on trial. He kind of asks, because the juror, he kind of asks, "Why am I being punished?" And he goes, "Because you grabbed the Tesseract and you altered the timeline." Now, here's my question: is, you mentioned before, the Tesseract is the space stone, which allows you to move through space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did he alter the timeline by not going, just because he didn't go along with what he was supposed to do, and that was be captured
Yeah.
by the Avengers, taken
Mhm.
back to Asgard? Or did he actually, that's to say, did he actually cross time? But of course, that the time stone, that's the thing. The time stone, which
Yeah.
is what Doctor Strange has,
Mhm.
allows you to manipulate time, meaning fast forward or
Yeah.
rewind time. It does not allow you to quote time travel.
Well,
Um,
well, we
well,
don't.
that no, because that's what the
Yeah.
quantum realm's for. The in Avengers Endgame, the Infinity, because they don't have the Infinity Stones to
Yeah.
time travel.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if at any point I have to do some research, which means
Yeah.
Kevin's going to watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm wondering if the space stone allows you to jump through quote space and time.
Well,
But that's a deep dive we go through.
yeah. Here's the thing about that I have to really understand the complexities of like the high theorized proponents of all the time of all the Infinity Stones. It's it's boggling, right? But
Yeah,
for the my thing is that here we remember specifically when Doctor Strange went through 15 or like 11 million possible scenarios when he had the time stone, right? So
yeah,
literally he went through time. He
that's
went
true.
he
That's
went through
true.
he went through all of that. And granted, that was probably just a minuscule portion of it. That's just all the time he had.
And he put himself kind of in a time in a
In a time
time
loop.
portal
Yeah,
or
yeah,
time bubble, so to speak,
yeah. And it's
where
the
he was
same.
almost like meditating
Yeah.
in time.
And very much like the same thing before when he had Dormammu in that
Infinite
that
loop, yeah.
infinite loop of like he's basically rewinding time on himself. So granted,
Who knows? Yeah,
yeah, it's very much in the comics. If you have the stones, you have the stones. You control all of reality.
yeah.
You can zip back and forth in time. You are basically infinite, levels of
I
infinity, but
guess
like
that's true, because if
yeah,
Thanos had the time stone or the space stone, why wouldn't he have gone through time,
yeah,
space, and time? So
yeah,
yeah, I guess that's true. Now, but why I bring all this up is in his trial. Obviously, right now we're watching Owen Wilson and so Loki and Mobius discuss Loki's life.
mm,
Loki brings up a great point, kind of an existential point: is why is he being punished for having the Tesseract basically dropped in his lap? He grabbed it. He didn't know what was going to happen,
yeah,
other than he was escaping the Avengers. He was doing what any other bad guy does. I'm trying to escape.
yeah.
He brings up a great question. Why aren't the Avengers being punished for them manipulating the timeline? And the comment from the judge was they were
Awesome.
meant to do that. Loki was meant to be captured, sent to Asgard, put in
Yeah.
prison, inevitably break out,
Mm-hmm.
and we know in the events of the Dark World, he actually, and we find out in this episode, he
Mm-hmm.
indirectly leads to the death of his mother.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of that? I mean, did you think they were going to address? I didn't think of that, because it was funny. It was like right when Loki brought it up, he's like, "Why didn't the Avengers?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're right. Why weren't the Avengers punished?" And then
Yeah. It's
they answered it, and it's like,
yeah,
"Oh, that makes sense."
yeah. Now it's one of those things that I definitely kind of knew the answer to already. Like one of
Yeah,
those things where, like, it's very much like we're dealing with gods, right? At this
yeah,
point, where it's supposedly to have some level of infallibleness, right? Granted, the gods that they've already deemed, right, that needs to say, oh, this is the timeline, right, and this is what your set path's supposed to be. They're not infallible. They're not infallible, right? They're very fallible, and they, for me, I'm like, all right, cool. They messed up, type of thing, right?
yeah.
And it's weird being a comic fan that, for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure Kevin knows. For me, I have a tendency to go to like freaking like power battles type of thing, where I I look up legit stats and all that stuff of like characters through all of fiction and see who would win a fight type of thing. And so definitely the biggest thing for me was that, like, all right, cool, which god would beat which god type of thing, right? So like there's levels of like infallibility, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, right? Obviously, these gods here are not omniscient. Obviously, they're probably nigh omniscient to the point where, like, all right, they know what's gonna come, but they don't know the exact motivations or the
Yeah.
exact feelings of everything, right?
Now
It
we're at
very
the
like
point. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like it very much feels like a company fucked up type of thing, right? Like the company fucked up, right? They didn't plan for this, and so now they're just gonna make it up along the way, type of thing. We're uh, like if you were in any type of like corporation or company, they had a plan for you, but you fucked it up, and so now they're kind of just winging it along the way. That's what it feels like for me. Like, yeah, it definitely the Avengers should be there. I would love to see RDJ stand to that trial and hear the conversations by saying that, yeah, the reason why your parents had to die was so that you were freaking Iron Man. I would love to hear that conversation. But I don't know, it was just definitely one of those things where I'm like, yeah, yeah, it was it, for me. I was enjoying the story more than really trying to think hardcore into it, type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
What did you think going back to as Mobius kind of goes through Loki's life and all the mischief he gets in? He points out the disaster that he creates with Avengers and the attack on New York.
yeah,
By the way, first time, or actually only the second time since he died in Avengers that Phil Coulson, Clark Gregg's Phil Coulson, is referenced in a Marvel movie. Of course, he was
yeah,
referenced in Captain Marvel as a young agent of Shield,
yeah.
a student of Sam Jackson's
Yep.
agent Fury at the time. We see Coulson's death replayed in Loki's timeline because Loki killed Agent Phil Coulson.
Hmm.
So it's kind of unique to see him. Of course, there's no mention of the fact that Phil Coulson inevitably is brought back to life through the Tahiti project and whatnot, which I would assume because probably through the TVA has been retconned. Um, but we do get to see that, and again, we're just kind of seeing the banter between these two
Yeah.
as Loki
Which I
being asked
Yeah.
the main question is, why are you, he asked him, why are you so evil, like why do you want to see people get hurt?
Yeah.
and and he's kind of fighting answering the question, and he does inevitably answer the question, but it was kind of like where are they going with this? And it was kind of really unique where
Yeah.
they went with it, that um that Loki doesn't necessarily want anybody to be
Yeah.
hurt. He
Yeah.
wants to rule.
Yeah.
Real quick too, but otherwise I forgot what I was going to go with. What did you think of, for those of you who don't know who DB Cooper is, you know who DB Cooper is. DB Cooper, back in the
Yeah.
1960s, 1970s,
Yep.
hijacked a plane, I think out of like Washington or Vancouver or something like
Yeah.
that. Anyways, out of the Pacific Northwest, hijacked a plane, got a ransom of like a couple million
Couple
dollars,
million. Yeah.
took the plane, but as he was flying over Washington somewhere, he parachuted out. His body was never recovered. The money he left with was never recovered. In the the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, we have now found out that DB Cooper was
Loki.
Loki the entire time
Out of
as a
mischief.
bet from Thor.
He lost. Yeah.
He lost. He lost a bet.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool, man. I like that part. I like, all right, cool. They're definitely throwing some eggs out of there, right? Just like, all right, we're just gonna flex now. We're gonna just because, yeah, he's the god of mischief, right? You
Yeah,
want you want Loki to be mischievous in a sense, and I'm glad they're going somewhat that route because the Loki that I grew up reading was very much that,
he was
right?
very. Oh, he's very mischievous.
Yeah, he was a pain in the he was a thorn
Pain
in
in
his
the
brother's
ass.
side. He wanted to just fuck shit. He was chaotic neutral, absolutely. He didn't care necessarily if good or bad won, as long as just stuff happened,
Yeah,
and that was fine. It wasn't until later on into his Marvel career, into the Marvel foreground, where Thor became bigger prominent. It became into bigger prominence. I think in like 2000 or so, where yeah, we see a different Loki, where Loki was a lot more conniving, a lot more a lot more disastrous. He wanted to destroy Asgard and all that stuff, right? And so yeah, But overall, I hope they have more of this Loki where he's just fucking dicking around.
Oh, where
And
yeah, he's just like, I'm bored. I'm going to Earth.
yeah, because Tom Hiddleston can play that role, man.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I gotta say too, man. I'm definitely loving this the thing they're doing. The MCU has been doing. We're like, all right, cool. We're gonna make a buddy cop drama now, right? I thought we were gonna have the buddy cop drama in Falcon Winter
Falcon the
Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Yeah,
That got way more serious, and I love that. But like, we're getting the buddy cop drama in this one, and I'm here
yeah.
for it, dude.
Who would have thought Owen Wilson, Tom Hiddleston? I mean, come on.
Dude, Tom, like Owen Wilson can fucking act. He can act, and
Oh, absolutely.
the biggest thing about him is that when he acts, right, he's the most inviting person, right? Because his persona and his uh his his uh his personality and his body what do you call it? His body language. There you go. His body language, right, is inviting,
Yeah,
incredibly inviting. And so I feel like we get the best out of Tom Hiddleston as Loki here, right? And so when he has that breakdown of like, why do you want to hurt people? Why does the like you're a mischievous God? You're
yeah,
not the God of death and destruction. You're a mischievous God. Why do you want to hurt people? And it was a very it went a route where I understand where the stage four MCU is going, right? Where it's all
yeah,
about introspective, and we're dealing with these characters who are gods in one essence, or these superheroes, and they're breaking them down to a very human level. We're like, I'm just the reason why I'm doing this because the weak does this to inspire fear. And it was a very poignant moment. And he overused this word so many fucking times in the last couple months. But like, yeah, it was, man. It was definitely a breakdown that Loki needed. Granted this Loki breakdown happened during Thor Dark World. But
yeah.
again, this is different Loki. And so we had to redo this. But like there were so many tropes in this episode that I loved. Right? They did the trope of like if your life played out in a movie theater, would you watch it? Right? They did that trope. I fucking loved it. Like if your whole life played, would you watch it? How would it end? And he watched it.
Yeah, that that moment, which we come to a little bit later, and I want to talk about that because it, we're gonna open up a wound here with yours truly. But um, real quick, there's a moment, it's a
Hmm.
throwaway scene. It's mere seconds long, and it
Oh,
has
you're talking
opened
about
up a
the
brand new theory
yeah.
in this brand new show, and that is the Peggy Carter theory. And you're going, why is there a Peggy Carter theory involving the Time Variance Authority? Peggy Carter's a good girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good guy. You know what could she have done wrong? Well, there is a moment where it looks like a character very similar to the Peggy Carter that we've seen in Agent Carter, which by the way was a great show.
Mm.
And we see her being hauled in by a TVA agent. And Loki kind of looks at her like, oh, that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But it has opened up a theory that it was Peggy Carter, and that Peggy Carter, between Captain America, First Avenger, the end of that movie, then the Agent Carter one shot, and then seasons 1 and 2 of Agent Carter, that somewhere along the line the timeline got screwed up,
Mm-hmm.
and that maybe Peggy Carter did something, because she was one of those like
Yeah.
ambitious female characters that was gonna buck the male dominated
Workforce of the
workforce of the 1940s
1940s.
and
Yeah.
1950s. So
Yeah. Yeah, man.
maybe it was an innocent, and she's one of those like people like, you know what, I screwed up. Let's just reset the timeline. I'll take my slap on the wrist and move along.
Here's the thing, though, and I would like to might be a new one. What if this Peggy Carter was the same Peggy Carter that Steve came back to?
Ooh, there you go. We'll
Because, like
have to
again, like variances, like
variants.
here's the
There's the
thing you
keyword. Hashtag variant. We're
here's the
not talking
thing,
about the
yeah,
keys that we buy.
here's the thing you do when you have time travel. Everything's a fucking theory now
Everything's
at this
game.
point.
Everything's free
Everything's
game.
everything's in game because like you have to question absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything because you don't know which thread you're pulling and which outcome you're going to get. So again, we might have the same Peggy Carter, right? It might be a Peggy Carter from the Peggy Carter shows, right? Agent
Yeah,
Carter. It
from
might be
Agent Carter.
it might be the Peggy Carter that lived a lifetime without Steve and didn't see her until freaking Captain America 2. It might be the Peggy Carter that Steve came back to in a different fucking timeline because he had to bring because that Steve Rogers had to bring everything back, right?
Yeah.
It might be that, and we just don't know. I'm hoping. I don't think it will happen, but I'm hoping that we might see this Peggy Carter in this show, and that there
Oh,
are
yeah, that'd
some
be kind of nice.
things. Yeah, there'll be some things that can happen from it, but like, there's just so many threads now one can pull, and it could make sense. It could really honestly make sense. And so yeah, definitely this Peggy Carter again. I love Haley Atwell. Fucking, I rock with her since she was in in the original Captain America. Uh, fucking loved her in Black Mirror and all the other things she's been in. And I really want all these actors and actresses to come back and like just be these
Well,
pivotal roles, man.
the only
Like,
reason I think that Peggy Carter probably won't appear in Loki is because of when it was filmed and during COVID.
that's
Is
true.
I didn't realize this, that Haley Atwell A is dating Tom Cruise, and
She is
B
that?
is yeah, and she's in the new Mission Impossible.
She is, yeah.
So she's been, of course, that film has gone into hiatus because a crew member tested positive, which I know is going to make Tom Cruise's head explode.
Oh my
Um,
god, you're Tom
we do,
Cruise.
yeah, we do find out in the TVA that Infinity Stones don't mean jack shit. That the power of the Infinity Stones, which we, by the way, so we see a drawer full of Infinity Stones in with that the desk clerk Casey has. Now, I should be kind of curious is why, because there was multiple. It wasn't like he had one of each. There were
Hmm.
multiples of some. There were multiple time stones. There were multiple reality stones. The biggest one was, guess what also was in the drawer? A soul stone.
Hmm.
How does one soul stone? So my curious is, how does one get a soul stone to stock? Because that one seems to be the most kind of unique infinity stone, because
Yeah.
you need to have, but again, time travel, yes, it
I,
can change anything.
well, time travel as well as just like I feel like here's the thing I keep on. I try to make a certain aesthetic, right? The P the TVA are your 1960s, 1970s police force type of thing, right? But
Yeah,
that also means that people who do paperwork within inside the police force, and when you come in, everything on you is gonna go into lockup, right?
yeah.
Is gonna go into evidence room, right? People don't keep shit, well, not all the time, but like just knickknacks here and there, right? And again, I really have to emphasize the strength and the power of the TVA.
Yeah.
If Infinity Stones don't mean jack shit to them, how powerful do you think they are? If they seen your timeline, right? Like for them, seeing your timeline is like flipping through channels to them, right?
Yeah.
Flipping channels. Uh, the the end game moments, right? Of Endgame, and the big clash at the end. For us as fans, that's like 10 years of waiting this very awesome moment, right? To
Yeah.
them, like to TVA, right? That could be them like, oh, a boxing fight is on right now. Oh, that's cool. Whatever. Flip the channel. Like it's literally there's an infinite amount of timelines within the Marvel universe, an infinite amount. The MCU is just one of those timelines, one of infinite. It it doesn't really matter in the big scheme
it
of things in that case. So
Yeah.
yeah, freaking a soul stone here or there. Oh my gosh, I've heard I've heard the I've seen this meme and I've heard this freaking thing. Oh man, we lost Natasha, and we lost Natasha for that soul stone. You have that in your jar. Yeah, it doesn't mean much to them.
And who knows, that may not be the soul stone that
That
Natasha
Natasha
was.
is it's somebody's soul stone.
Somebody's soul
It's
stone.
somebody lost their lives. Someone had to kill someone they loved in order to get it back for some type of greater good or evil. And like, but the TVA is like, okay, cool, whatever. But then I gotta really this is the thing that I geek out on, man, is that power leveling. Power leveling is definitely in this thing, where it
But
doesn't. all of the MCU, all the MCU, or all of like a bunch of timelines don't mean jack shit to the TVA.
Yeah.
Like until they legit get like higher beings like the Living Tribunal, right? That is a fucking nod to higher power beings in all of Marvel. Or if they get if they get Eternity, if they get Lady Death, if they get all these huge ass freaking characters, right? That are definitely they tower over Thanos.
Yeah.
Tower. There is nothing in the MCU can like match any of these superior prime beings. This is power leveling. This is proper
Yeah.
power leveling. And so this is how you got to do it to expand on that. So what they're doing right now, specifically with the TVA, hopefully sets up for what they're gonna do with WandaVision, or with Wanda, with what they do with freaking with Doctor Strange, because obviously these two are the strongest they have in the universe.
Yeah.
Period. They're the strongest ones, and they still stand no chance to these higher beings. So this is a good proper power level. Like, all right, cool. This is how y'all work on it. Because honestly, here's my theory. Sorry, bro. I know I've been taking a lot of time, but here's my
No,
theory.
go ahead.
Loki at the end of the series might be the strongest character.
Could be. We've seen that so far, that WandaVision has shown herself to be the most powerful superhero in the
Mm-hmm.
universe. We don't know how Loki's going to evolve to this. I will notice this as you were talking. I didn't want the show to loop out,
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanted to see some of these scenes. I hit pause
Yeah.
on Disney Plus, and there it is. I knew I saw it somewhere. It is on Disney Plus, so it's official. This is not a limited series.
Mm.
It says on Disney Plus,
Season?
S1, season one, E1, episode one, Glorious Purpose. There is going to be multiple seasons of Loki.
Bro,
Stoked.
okay. So they're gonna fucking Doctor Who Loki. I love it. They're gonna Doctor Who Loki, and I fucking love it. They have their own British fucking mysterious freaking
Yeah, heck yes. Maybe they'll
gang.
bring back maybe each episode they'll they'll regenerate, and there'll be a variant after every season, maybe a different version.
What if they
Um,
freaking bring back David Tennant to do an episode with Loki?
that'd be great. Um, David Tennant, obviously, technically in
Doctor.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Yeah.
as Kilgrave, as Purple Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we've had one Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
We have had David Eccleston.
Yeah.
Was Laufey?
Yeah.
No,
It'd be
not
like,
Laufey.
oh, I thought,
Oh hell, the Dark Elf.
yeah, 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 yeah. I just forgot the name of it. But yeah, he actually had a bigger
Yeah,
role in War of the Realms. But yeah, we also I'm pretty sure what's the name, the other Doctor who came after Tennant,
Matt Smith.
Matt
Matt
Smith. He's
Smith has
also
he is not. Matt Smith has not been in
I
Doctor Who.
thought he's
There's
going to.
in Marvel Cinematic. But Matt Smith will be in
Yeah,
the new Game of Thrones spinoff.
that's right. He is.
But no, there has only been two Doctors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There have been two companions.
Yes.
Karen Gillan,
Aaron
who
Gillen.
was Matt Smith's partner, was
Mm-hmm.
and then Jenna Coleman
That's
was
right.
also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Who's she
She
again?
was Steve Rogers' date at the Stark Expo in 1941. In There are two women in that go on a date with Bucky and Steve to the Stark Expo in the 1940s.
That's
One of
right.
them is Jenna
I
Coleman, who of course
totally forgot.
was, I believe, Peter Capaldi's
Yeah.
companion in
Yep. She
Doctor
was.
Strange.
Mhm.
Or sorry, Doctor Strange, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I know there's been plenty of people that have wanted Peter Capaldi to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, he's in the DCEU now, being in
Mhm.
Suicide Squad.
Yep.
People have wanted Matt Smith. He's doing Game of Thrones. It should be pointed to out, but what has been canonized. In Captain America, sorry, I'm going to go chase a variant real quick.
Mhm.
In Captain America, the First Avenger, there is a moment where Steve is a picture being taken, and there's a woman that walks up to him and says, "Can I have your autograph?" It's a blonde-haired woman, pretty girl. She looks awfully familiar. You probably do recognize her because she's the same actress plays Peter Quill's mother in Guardians of the Galaxy
That's right.
1 and 2. Now,
And
people are
yeah.
going,
Yeah.
Are they the same person? Because people thought they were the same person because they thought that Peter Quill's mom was the Celestial, which actually ended up being Ego,
Yeah.
Peter's dad. We have found out that what has been officially canonized by James Gunn and Kevin Feige is that the woman in Captain America: First Avenger, who plays the same, who's played by the same actress who plays Peter Quill's mom.
Hmm.
So the actress in Captain America and the actress in Guardians of the Galaxy are same person.
They are.
Are they're the same actor? I'm sure the
Oh
same
yeah.
actress.
Yeah.
They played two separate characters
Okay.
that are related.
Yeah.
That the woman in Captain America: First Avenger is Peter Quill's grandmother, Peter's mom's mother.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's been James Gunn saw Captain America when
Yeah.
First Avenger, like the actress that I want her in my movie. Kevin Feige didn't like having the same actress play two different characters. So he
Mm.
says, well, why don't we write it in continuity that they're mother and and daughter? And so that's what it is. So that's
Cool.
Peter in Captain
Yeah.
America. That's Peter Quill's grandmother. Obviously, Peter Quill's mother in
If we're
Guardians 1 and
Yeah,
2
if
is
we're going at that point, dude, then like here, I'm just throwing my hat in this ring here, then real quick for possible having other actors and actresses come in. Natalie Dormer. She
uh
is you okay, let me just say this.
she's
Natalie
in Game of
Dormer,
Thrones. Yeah.
she's Game of Thrones. She plays plays Margie Trail.
Yeah.
She was actually in Captain America 1 as Captain Laura as a
Yes.
Captain
She's a
Private Lorraine who made out with Steve in front of Haley,
in front of
right?
Haley. Yeah.
And
I forgot that was her.
that was
I
her,
love
dude.
her.
And I was kind of hoping that she would have, a long role. Granted, this was what 2011, and her role as Marjorie was still taking off during Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I would love to see Natalie Dormer back in the MCU as
absolutely.
possibly anybody at this point, man, because I don't think she's doing anything right now, right?
Well,
She
she's not
might
doing Game
be.
of Thrones.
She's not. Well, she hasn't been doing Game of Thrones. Is what season
Yeah,
6 or 5? I think where
yeah.
freaking spoiler alert. If you haven't freaking know, she got blown up in the church. So yeah, with her family line. So it's I'm hoping that if there is a continual thing of like having of reusing hopefully actors and actresses from that played pretty honestly like niche or like offbeat roles, Natalie Dormer has possibly a chance to come back. I'm hoping, but
I agree. Um, we get towards the end of the first episode, and
mm,
we get to the scene where JR was just talking about. Is we see we see this is your life in film. So you have the ability. The TVA has the ability to see a person's entire life on film, and we see Loki use this little magical TV and fast forward through his life, and he sees all these moments. He sees the moment where he his mother died, where Frigga dies. We see the moment where he reunites with his brother in Ragnarok. We see the moment where his father dies. Of course, that being um, uh, Odinson or Odin. Um, and then we see him team up with Thor in Ragnarok to fight Hela, to fight Sakaar, and then he fast forwards to his death at
yeah,
the hands of Thanos, and then he just watches as the reel of his life on film comes to an end,
oh,
and it's a very kind of a deep moment for anybody to show you that just like that,
mhm,
life can end, and it's over. There is no rewind, pause. Hey, you know what? Let's add an extra scene or something like that. And I'll
yeah,
not to get dark or anything on you. Your boy over here is turning 40 this year, and uh, you know, my immortality, or my
mhm,
mortality, I should say,
yeah,
has really started to come into fruition. It's like I'm not getting any younger. And
yeah,
so that scene kind of hit with me last night was you see a guy that Tom Hiddleston's playing. Obviously, Loki is considered to be hundreds of years old. I think even Thor mentioned that in Infinity War that he's like 800 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And one's to assume that Loki is relatively close in age to his brother, his stepbrother, whatever you call it. And but you look at him, and I mean, he's still. I mean, Tom Hiddleston turned 40 this year as well. So,
Hmm.
you look at this variant, and he's relatively young looking. And oh, is that
What?
is? Hold on, I'm rewatching this.
Oh, here we go.
I is that the guy
Uh-oh.
from the guy that owns the comic book store in Big Bang Theory?
Where?
He's one of the TVA agents
Oh, when the initial reveal at the end.
no when what's her name when her what's her name gets put into that loop
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
When Loki puts the thing around Hunter B-15's neck,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
and then she
okay.
runs into a couple of agents in the hallway.
I hope it's not, dude, because that would be very well. It probably is. Well, for those who have heard our podcast before, and those who know of this particular person, and for those
He's
who
not
know,
listed, no.
okay, good. For those who know of Comic Con Palm Springs, 2018, it was a very interesting conversation about this particular person during that time, and he was at a booth that was near ours, and yeah, I'll just say all about that. I'll just say
Yeah, he's a unique character,
yeah.
but it does not look like it was him. At least he's not listed on IMDb
Hmm.
as um as a character in the show, but it looks an awful lot like him.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so it was a unique scene, and of course we see Loki sees his life in perspective and sees the good that he has done, but at the same time the bad that he's done. And
Yeah.
that's where Mobius asks him again, like, "Why do you like to hurt people?" And I don't. I want to rule them.
Yeah.
So
I want
he's
to
admitting,
rule.
I'm an asshole. I want to
Yeah.
rule Midgard.
Yeah. It's uh and again, like it does show, but I like when Mobius pushed more, like, but why do you want to rule Midgar? Like, why? Like, he went down to the nitty gritty. I love the fact that 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 these last three series have been really all about mental health, like really putting a focus on, like, but why are you like this way? And he just opens up to saying that, yeah, because I'm weak, and I feel like this is, I think this is how I should be strong, type of thing. And like, but I'm not. Again, Loki breaks down and says, "I'm not gonna go back, aren't I? I can't go back to my
No,
family. I can't go back to this." Right? Becomes that epiphany, that realization, like, crap, man, I had everything that I wanted when it was back home, but I just fucked it up because I have my own problems, have my own shit that I didn't want to deal with. And so, yeah. So, but we fast forward to that point, and you have Mobius saying that, well, I can't, but I can give you something better, hopefully. And and yeah, Loki asked him, well, what is it? And Mobius is like, well, yeah, we have this variant, right, that's running around. And Loki's like, oh, and you want me to help you stop him? Like, yeah. Funny thing though, he's you. It's
he's
you.
you.
And Loki's like, what? Beg your pardon? What? And so that's the initial reveal. We are then pulled into the final scenes where this very hooded figure, this hooded figure, is out in the field, in dark field, and the TVA agents, right, are into this field, and they, oh, this is oil, and Loki possibly throws a lighter, or like this, a lantern,
Lantern. It was a
whatever,
lantern.
a lantern into the field, and the whole field erupts in flames. And we are then seen with possibly Loki that is hooded in the middle of the field, in front of a lot of burning, uh, gonna be soon corpses, right, of the TVA. And also, we forgot to add this part, right? The TVA, um, one of their other, I guess, equipment type of thing, right?
Yeah,
Is a specific bomb or whatever they
it's a
might
reset
be,
bomb. Yeah, I
a
can't
reset
remember what's
bomb.
called. Yeah, I can't remember
Yeah,
exactly what they call it.
yeah,
For lack of a better term, it's called a
yeah,
reset bomb,
a
which
reset bomb. They put on the ground, and then supposedly it resets time. Now, we have yet to see it in action. I don't know what it.
we see it possibly played out when the original Loki variant is picked up in Mongolia, There's a
Yeah.
one it's assumed that it was successfully detonated in Mongolia and
Yeah.
reset that timeline where they captured Loki.
Again, but like, what does that mean though? What does reset mean? Does it blow up the actual entire timeline, or does it rewind everything?
It
Because all we see just
rewinds.
goes it, but we never really actually see the rewind portion of it.
No, we don't. We don't just see it live in action, but it's just in the Miss Minutes anime. It is it's assumed that the moment that the variant entered into the alternate timeline, in this case, when Loki grabbed the Tesseract, activated its power, left New York City 2012, and entered into Mongolia, assumed 2012. The
Mhm.
second he entered into that space,
Mhm.
that variant timeline was created. That and so that it's assumed that the I can't remember the exact thing, but the reset bomb
Mhm.
is set off, that it basically rewinds time, cuts it off the moment Loki comes into that time, that period,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't exist. And that's kind of the way they explain it in the Miss Minutes video that's a part of episode 1. So
Mhm.
again, I like it because again, this is a type of show that's perfect for nerds like us, because it really gets us thinking not only existentially about life and whatnot, but also paying attention. And I know that we're so caught up in what's going on in the world. We got our phones and stuff in front of us, that I like shows like this because it makes you put it down, okay, for an hour and pay attention.
Mhm.
Um, there was a movie, the Usual Suspects, and a friend of mine
Mhm.
told me when I first watched the movie, he says, turn everything off, turn your computer off, turn your phone off, uh, don't 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 answer the door. Just you have this is a movie you have to watch uninterrupted. Don't pause and say I'll come back to it in an hour. No, uninterrupted. You have to watch it. Movies like shows like this, you could kind of come back to Falcon the Winter Soldier, but shows like this and WandaVision really need your
Yeah.
full attention for its period. And WandaVision was a little bit easier to digest because it progressively got longer.
Yeah. Mhm.
Loki right out of the chute is an hour long. You got 6 1-hour episodes, and you really do have to pay attention because they're not just Easter eggs; they're important pieces to the overall puzzle,
They're
and that's
fucking
what I like about it.
bombshells. They're not
Yeah,
Easter eggs. They're bombshells.
yeah. The other thing too that was kind of insinuated, in a couple of the other wrap up videos they saw, and I did a little research on the shovel. I guess you would call it, for lack of a better term, the shovel that's in that last scene. Um, is they're kind of they kind of do a scan of it to see what the hell it was. And supposedly, and I don't know what the exact reference is, I'll go back and watch it again, but
Mhm.
supposedly on the screen of the TVA agent, when he scans that little shovel that's sticking out, it has the lights on it and stuff like that,
Mhm.
that it is obviously not of that world, because they're in
Yeah.
18, I think they're in 1850s or something like that,
Mhm.
Oklahoma. That is a weapon that belongs to another time traveler and one Kang the Conqueror. It is a Kang weapon. And so do we possibly get to see the debut of uh of King the
Yeah.
Conqueror? Probably not. I'm sure they're going to save that for Quantumania.
Mhm.
But who knows? Will we find out later? Because, like you said, JR, we know that Loki not only is just a standalone TV show that allows Tom Hiddleston to
Be
continue
Tom
playing the
Hiddleston.
character Loki,
Yeah.
but it is a show that potentially can affect the overarching Marvel Cinematic Universe, because we know that the next couple of movies coming out, or parts, some of the next couple of movies are going to deal with the multiverse. Far From Home, or sorry, No Way Home, and the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2.
Mhm.
And of course, I would imagine also eventually Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania. Um, could it be that they're just placing little pieces of a puzzle that maybe will play out later in life, that maybe Loki wasn't acting alone as a time variant, that maybe he was working with King the Conqueror while he was wandering around.
Mm.
Who knows? We don't know, and it could also be that um, they're not completely against doing mixed race members of the Marvel Cinematic, of
Mm.
the Fantastic Four, but it is assumed that they really want John Krasinski to play Reed Richards, who's obviously a white guy,
Yeah.
and they want Emma Blunt. I'm sorry, Emily Blunt,
Emily
who is
Blunt.
his real life wife, to play Sue Storm.
Mm.
That would mean that Kang, who is a future, I guess you say not variant, but he is, for
He's a
lack of better
future.
terms,
He's a future.
he's
Yeah.
Reed Richards' son.
Yeah.
Correct. That
Yeah.
maybe he's a variant because the guy who's playing King the Conqueror is an African American gentleman. So that maybe he is a time variant. Who knows? It'd be really kind of cool if Loki does down the road kind of plant a seed for Ant-Man and the Wasp, or plant
Eh,
some seeds for the movie. So, but
yeah, we
it has
definitely
the
got.
potential to do it.
I mean, we have to definitely have to see what comes from it. Just more so like it's definitely also one of those things like where I don't want us to. For me, I guess say I don't want to. I don't want me to be in that hole of like expecting Mephisto and getting freaking Agatha, right?
Yeah.
Type of thing. Where like, uh,
Agatha all along.
which don't be wrong, man. I think Agatha is great, but like when you have when specifically when people have like these huge insane theories of like wanting, you know, everybody to come forth. We can fucking I can freaking hopefully say that I can come out and say that, oh, I want fucking freaking Chris Hemsworth and Odin to come back and give fucking Loki a hug at the end of the day. That's not gonna fucking happen. It's cool, it'd be cool to do, but I don't think that's gonna fucking happen. And like, it's definitely one of these things where like temper expectations,
Yeah.
for this particular series, and we'll see where we go from there. Because again, even though that the MCU, the Disney Plus MCU shows have been really top tier, we definitely, for me, I definitely see their pay grade in the sense of like they don't have enough money. They're not gonna have enough money to pay for one Tom Hiddleston, Luca, freaking Owen Wilson, as well as possibly three possible franchise players that could possibly come in sometime down the line. I don't think that's gonna happen. But then we call it pragmatic, but at the same time uh what the fuck is called, like the negative person, not negative, but like the
I know what you mean.
yeah, the I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I'm like I don't know, I'm just
You're
trying to take
not
the
an
right
optimist. You're
yeah, what's the opposite of the optimist, so like definitely like I don't know.
overall, what did you think of the show, the first episode?
Good. Really, really
Good.
good. Really strong. It was definitely they had to tackle a question of like who is Loki and how are you gonna establish this Loki and understand that the different version of him that played out his life in this scene is where he needs to go, type of
Yeah.
thing, right? Like we need to establish to the fans like you need to catch up. How are you gonna do that? And they kind of did. Granted, like I wish they gave him more scenes to reminisce and to understand like, oh, this is the life I should have fucking had, but at the same time, I'm glad it was this version of Loki of 2012 where he's still very freaking spry, uh, very much about himself, very much about like about his business and what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Overall, man, the series looks really really good. I am excited to watch this every Wednesday. Um, yeah, I just like Owen Wilson. He's a crazy
Yeah,
get. That's such
absolutely.
a left field type of get, but at the same time, it works.
It works, and I'm really excited to see where the direction they go with him. And like I said, um, the over under is, I'd say, like 2-3 episodes in that he does the first. Wow.
Right.
So real quick, question of the episode for you, other than what did you guys think,
Mm.
is I'm gonna leave it out there. What other pop culture variant, I guess you'd say, does Loki impersonate? We saw him play DB Cooper in episode 1. Does he do another deep dive? Does he go and was that Joan of Arc, and was that Loki playing him? We don't know. Stranger things can happen. So Let us know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or send us on our social media accounts, PS Comics I Love You on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and Instagram, or PS Comics I Love the letter U on Twitter. Let us know what other major character in pop culture does Loki play as a lost bet from his son Thor Odinson. He plays it. He played DB Cooper in episode 1. What does he play in episode 2, if at all? Let us know in the comments below. All right, guys, this is going to be, like I said, once again, a weekly bonus episode for
Mm-hmm.
you as we head through this, I think, 6-week run
Yeah.
of Loki on Disney Plus. We will continue to bring you the weekly regular episodes around sometime between Sunday and Tuesday. We
Yeah.
do have a jam-packed show coming up this week. JR and I are JR's feverishly working on a script to lead up to
E3.
next week's show, because it's all about E3. We gave you a sneak preview. That episode is available now to download wherever you listen to your podcast, or
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube. But E3 kicks off this coming weekend. There's a lot of stuff. It's a jam-packed 4-day event, digital.
Yep.
And I think we're going to have a great show for you next week.
Yeah. Specifically that Sunday too. I'll hopefully, I don't know the exact same times, but usually before in E3's past, the big shows from Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, right? They're usually in later parts, right? I think Nintendo had early mornings, Microsoft had midday, and then Sony would run of the night around like 6 or 7 o'clock, right? But then granted,
Um,
yeah, but granted now only
Nintendo.
Microsoft is only helm for Sunday, so they're gonna have a Microsoft Bethesda, which I'm super looking forward to because I want to definitely see if Bethesda can finally tell me that, hey, you should definitely invest in either a PC or a game PC, or possibly a Xbox Series X if it ever comes out. If we're able to buy one. But yeah.
Yeah, it should be noted that the big gets are on Saturday
Yep.
from 11 to about 2 o'clock will be Ubisoft. That's kind of the big get for
Yep.
Saturday.
Yep.
Like JR said, Sunday, Xbox, Microsoft, and Bethesda will
Hmm.
be from 10 a.m. till about noon.
Yeah.
Square Enix will be afterwards, so maybe we'll get some updates on the Avengers game. And then, of course, they do like a generic PC gaming show for later that day.
Mhm.
Bullet points from Monday. Verizon will be opening the show at 9 a.m.
Mm. Kind of weird, but
Mythical Games at
yeah.
11:10. Capcom at 2:30, and Razer will close it out. And then, of course, the big one is at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, June 15th. It will
Nintendo.
be Nintendo. A lot
Yeah.
expected to come out of that thing.
We might
Possibly
have
updates.
yeah, next week's gonna be crazy, guys, because
Yeah,
if
so we
anything,
will have
we're gonna have a
we'll have a
lot.
really good show for you next week
Yeah.
on that. So it could end up being late. Maybe we do 2 episodes. I don't know. It depends
Yeah.
on the schedule. We Yeah, who knows? Like I said,
Yeah.
E3 is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We haven't covered conventions
Yeah,
really
man.
like this. So and it also should be noted that in July, depending on when it falls, like I said, it may fall during our hiatus. San Diego Comic Con has not officially announced if they're going to do an SDCC at home again this year, but it's assumed that they probably will. And if
Mhm.
they do, we'll have some kind of coverage. If it doesn't fall
Yeah.
during our hiatus, if we'll figure it out, but be looking forward to that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us for Loki episode 1 of season 1. And we will be back next week for episode 2. He is JR, the Dark King, Kamba Kungan. He
Yes,
is
sir.
one of the many time lords that hold up the sacred time stream of the this universe. I am the voice of reason at voice of reason 23,
Yes,
Kevin Pillow,
yes.
and we will see you next week for episode probably I think like 49 or 50 of our main episode, and of course episode 2
Yeah.
of Loki. And as always, guys, have a great week. Be kind to one another.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Peace. Let's look at this stuff right now.